Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis call, and this is in preparation for trading on February the 14th, actually, February 14th, 2018. Let me just correct that, should say 14. All right, just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. All right, so we will start off as usual with our Forex factory calendar here. Coming up, we have inflation expectations. So these are important. This is for a New Zealand dollar at 9 p.m. Eastern. And this is, inflation is an important number that all the central banks track. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. If you're trading the New Zealand dollar, this will have an impact on New Zealand dollar for sure. Coming up on a Wednesday here, we have some GDP numbers coming up, and then we have a couple of members speaking here, flash GDP for Euro. So basically a bunch of people speaking in the London session. Very, very important tomorrow that we are going to, the data that we are going to get tomorrow will be the CPI number for the US and core CPI number. So this number, like I said, inflation numbers are very, very important. We have Fed essentially came out and said that they were looking at more rate hikes this year, and CPI number, if the CPI number goes up, then the chances of the rate hike increase, and that will be positive for the US dollar, because market will then go and start taking into consideration the interest rate hikes. And if the number comes out negative, that will be negative for the US dollar, just because of the market expectations that the Fed will not do interest rate hikes soon, that they may either push them back or they may not do them at all. So that's why these numbers are very important. Retail sales numbers, basically these ones are important because they show the state of the economy. If the retail sales are good, that means the economy is solid, which is another number that the Fed will watch as well. So those two numbers are very important. And then we have crude oil inventories. We have seen oil has been dropping lately, so this will be an important number for the Canadian dollar here. And then we have Australian dollar employment numbers, again, numbers that we need to pay attention to because the central banks pay attention to these numbers as well. So that's what we have for our news coming up. So let's look at the charts. So we'll start off with euro dollar here. So today we have seen that euro has pushed up. So we have a solid candle close here. Right now, we are at an important support and resistance level. So this is what it looks like right now. So the overall, this one, the daily close is bullish. So we would expect a move up into 1.2420 level, but we are also into this resistance level. So this is something that we have to be careful. So we need to see which way the market will close, or sorry, which way the price goes. If it holds above 123.65 level, which is our support and resistance level previously, is likely to go into 124.20. But if it holds below that, then we're likely to see the price come down. And in that case, our target would be, the first target would be 1.23 level, and then lower down into all the way into 122. So that's what we are going to look at. Let's take a look here. This is where we are. As we can see, it can go all the way up into R2, which is also 1.2420 level. This is where we currently are. It has been an update. So price kind of sat here for the last 3 days, didn't do anything, and now it has moved up. So currently where we are at 123.65, that will be a level to watch. If it stays, if it breaks onto the other side, and then we're looking for another move to the upside. But overall, this is a bullish move for the day, and we could just get a pullback into this pivot point level, and then we could see price move up, or even a pullback into S1 here, and then the price move up. So daily bias will be to the upside for euro dollar. Pound dollar here, we've had all sorts of back and forth here, very, very choppy all day. Overall, we did close up bullish, so I'm looking for a further move to the upside. Again, we are into some resistance here, so we have to watch out this 1.3920-ish level. If it stays below that, it could drop, but overall the daily close is bullish. So looking for price to move back into this previous support and resistance area at 1.3930 level. So this is where we are currently. So if it stays below this, if it comes and tests this level and holds below this, then it could drop. But overall, looks like we're filling this inefficiency. So we could, if it holds above the pivot point, we could just keep on going higher from there. So the bias will be to the upside though for pound dollar as well. Aussie dollar here. Not sure why this keeps coming back every time my computer restarts. Okay, anyway, we can ignore this for now. So this one here, it's a very neutral close. We have pins on both sides. Overall price has been pushing up, but again, we are into this previous support and resistance area, which is coming from this side here. This one does not look as strong. So overall, the bias is to the downside. We have seen this pullback. It could go higher though. It could go all the way into 79.11 or 79.20-ish level. But if it stays below the 78.80 level, then we're likely to see the price come down. So the bias is, I would say, bearish to neutral, just because overall bias is to the downside. So Aussie dollar here, I would be looking for price to come back and test this previous support and resistance level. Basically, I'm looking for price to come back and test the bottom of this level, 78.20 level here, and looking for price to just continue down with the pullback. However, it could go all the way up here, so that's something we have to be mindful of. And the same thing here, 78.80 would be the level to watch. If it stays below that level, then we are this one here, which is the high for today. If it stays below this high, I'm just looking for price to drop. First target would be the S1 level, which is 78.20 level. And then we're looking back into the bottom of this level here, 77.80 level, which is also our S3 level. So for the bias, I would say neutral to bearish for Aussie dollar. New Zealand dollar here, we are looking at we have seen this rejection. So price went up and then we saw this rejection from this support and resistance area. So that shows there is bias to the downside. So sellers have stepped in. So I'm looking for price to New Zealand dollar to weaken here. It could go slightly higher though. It could go test the levels here, but overall I'm looking for it to drop. The target here would be 72.20 level. This is where we are. This is the rejection that we have seen. This is previous support and resistance area. Price went and tested this level and then dropped from there. It could go and test this level once again, but overall the bias will be to the downside. So just looking for price to come into this 72.20 level for New Zealand dollar. Dollar CAD here hasn't done a whole lot. We have just seen this sideways move. It hasn't done much. So with this one, the bias is still to the downside here because we see some rejection. We have a pin right here. Price hasn't been able to break above this 126.20 level. So as long as price stays below, I'm looking for price to drop into 124.80 level. Now, if we do see price go to the other side of 126.20, then I'm looking for price to go all the way into 126.90 or about 12700 level. Looking at the 1 hour, this is where we are. See how price just hasn't been able to go higher, which means it could drop from here. 3 times it tested this level and then we could see a drop. This is a similar scenario to what we saw with euro. 3 days in a row, price was hovering at this level, couldn't break below, and then it went above. So with this one, this is opposite. Price is having a hard time breaking to the upside, which means we could see another drop to the downside. Now the markets may be waiting, especially in the London session today. We may see market just kind of waiting on the CPI data, and that could have things sort of choppy once again. So we'll have to keep that in mind. So that's dollar CAD. So the bias is to the downside for dollar CAD. Target is a 124.80 level. Dollar Swiss franc here. This one we have a neutral close for this one as well, but looks like we do have room to the upside here. We are into resistance right about here, which is this is our resistance that we are at. However, if the price breaks above, because euro has actually been quite bullish, well, not quite bullish, but euro has held strong today, and it has pushed up. So if euro pushes up, this could get pushed up as well. So we could see the price go above. So I would say if price breaks to the other side, if it closes on the other side of 1560 level here, we could see the price go all the way to the upside. So right now I'm neutral on this, because if it goes to the other side, I am looking for it to continue further. This is where we are. This inefficient move that we had, it has been filled now. So we have to see how price will react. It is a good support and resistance area, but overall it is pushing higher, which means we could see a further move to the upside in this. So this is where we are at, and we could just see one of these moves, and then price could do that. And that's what I'm looking for, to see if the price does that, or if the price just comes over here that gives us some sort of a double top, and then it could drop. So again, because we are at an important support and resistance level, we have to watch what price does at 1.1560 level and which way it closes. If it closes below, if it holds below, then we're looking for a drop. If it holds above, then we are looking for price to go up higher. In terms of the bias, this is neutral. Pound Swiss franc here. Another neutral close, but the bias here is more to the downside, because overall bias is to the downside, and price hasn't really been able to close above a 130.20 level here. It's been hovering around that level for the last couple of days, and it's just sitting in this range. So I'm looking for price to move down towards the bottom of the range into 1.2900 level. So just looking for price to move lower here. So the bias is to the downside. This is where we are. However, one thing we do need to keep in mind, because we are into support and resistance here as well, what could happen is if the price does this, we could see this type of a move. So again, all these crosses today seem to be at support and resistance levels, and this tends to happen before a major news comes out. So CPI, or this particular CPI for the US, is very important, because Fed has essentially come and said that they're looking for another 3 rate hikes this year, and CPI numbers will be one of the decision makers, and it will be a big level, or big important data point, because inflation for the US has actually lagged, and that's one of the things that the Fed is concerned about. If the inflation stays low, Fed cannot raise rates. So for them to continue raising rates, the inflation numbers have to start creeping up, even if they don't come out hugely solid like we've been seeing for British pound. We do need to see some sort of solid numbers, because that would mean that the economy is doing well and the Fed can continue raising rates. So that's what we're looking at. So right now we had a drop, a pullback, drop. Now we're just going sideways, so we could see this drop again. So my target would be 1.2900 level, which is also our S2 level to the downside, but price is sort of just hanging around here for now. Dollar Swiss franc here, this one's actually bias is bearish. I'm looking for price to drop further here. The target here would be 0.9250 level. So very nice bearish close for the day. So looking for price to drop further for dollar Swiss franc. Pound CAD here, this one has a bullish close for the day, but again, we are into resistance here, and we'll have to see how price closes. So based on this, it's sideways. We are in this range and we are right in the middle of the range, so it could go either way, but overall the close is bullish, so it could push up higher here as well, but it's sideways for now. Pound yen, this is bearish. We have had a bearish close for the day, and now I'm looking for price to come and retest this 148.90 level, and then once we see a close below this, so twice price has tested this level and it hasn't been able to close below. So we need to see a close below this level for it to continue lower, but the bias is to the downside. Overall, it's just still a down move, even though now we are starting to see buyers stepping in. So we'll have to be mindful once the price gets into 148.90 level. And if it breaks, then we're looking for the next level, which is 147.80 to the downside. So first target would be 148.90. Second target would be 147.80. So there's it's a little far for now. So 148.90 will be the first target. Euro yen here, Euro yen is also biased to the downside because we have overall trend is downwards here. Price has stayed in this range for the last few days here. It has rejected the high, so I'm looking for price to come back towards the bottom of this range here, which is at 132.00. So I'm looking for Euro yen to drop further here. So bias is to the downside. Aussie yen here, this is also biased to the downside. We've had a nice candle close, bearish candle close here. So I'm looking for price to drop further. And the target here will be the bottom of this previous level here at 8400, 84.00. So overall bias is to the downside. Dollar yen here. Dollar yen, the bias is to the downside here as well. We've had a big candle close, so I'm looking for price to move lower. So the first target will be 107.43 level here, or 40 level, and then the second target would be a 107.100. So if we zoom out a little bit, this is where we are, a 107.100, and the first target being a 107.40. So overall, the bias is to the downside, and this is the trade that I'm currently in. I am looking for price to drop, but with the yen crosses, generally we will find that price will pull back a bit. So as long as it stays below the pivot point, I'm just looking for price to come and test the 107.40 level, and then into 107.100 level. So that's what I am looking at. So this is a nice support and resistance level here. So just looking for it to drop further. Bias here is to the downside, but we are coming into support, so we'll have to watch it right into this level. So I'll kind of keep an eye on this one here. CAD yen, this is a very bearish close here as well. So looking for price to drop further. First target would be 85.20 level. And then below that, I'm looking at 84.50 level to the downside. But the candle close here is very bearish. So looking for a further drop here in CAD yen. New Zealand yen here, this one as well, candle close is very bearish, so looking for a further drop. 7,800 would be the first target, and then looking for a further move into 77.50-ish level. So bias is to the downside for this one as well. So that's all I have. Any questions or anything you guys want me to cover? Okay, if not, we will call it a wrap. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll be back for the London session again at 3 a.m. And for now, I'm just in that dollar-yen trade, but keep in mind, yen does like to it could push up a little bit. So that's what's going on, but my bias is to the downside for all the yen crosses here. All right, so we'll call it a wrap. You guys have a wonderful evening. See you in the morning then. Bye for now.